Hey, what's up, guys? We are back here with some more base layout reviews for our alliance here. This is HSMK007, and not to be confused with the real HSMK, who is sometimes #1 in the world, or at least top 10. So you can see he has 2,300 trophies, middle of the road, and he has a fairly strong base setup. He has a lot of choke points, choke point right here, and then a nice choke point right here. And this is what I've talked about before, is having a hard to reach tower really like further in the base. You can see you have to go through here, 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 and then this hard to reach tower right here you can't hit until you get all the way through, going through over here, or if you summon the cannons and have them, make it this far and they target that. And typically it takes 2, possibly 3 cannon shots to kill this tower, depending on how strong it is. Or you could have the pyromancers, and you have to pretty much call them right to the corner, to the edge right here, to make them attempt to attack that target over there. So it's a really, really hard to reach tower. It's a great tower for defense. It's arguably the best tower position, for defense. Overall, I don't see anything bad with the actual layout. The layout looks really well. Take a look at the troop selection, and this is where he could probably use a little bit of improvement. As you start getting higher up, you start noticing that paladins aren't as effective as they used to be, because you're running into players that have all the spells, and players that have all the spells, Sonic Blast and Blade Storm, they pretty much devour paladins in one spell cast, and they have a long duration. So the paladins, they don't really live that long anymore. They were really, really good early on in the game, probably around now 1,500 trophies and below. But once you get really past like the 1,500 trophy range, you don't really want to have a lot of paladins in your defense. So again, you're going to be putting more ranged troops like archers, blasters. You want to kind of have a nice variety of these guys: frosters, pyromancers, and mortars. You don't need too many. Archers, blasters. They do a heavy amount of damage. They are long range. Then the other thing is, we're looking at monsters now. Monsters seem to be working out fairly well. So the werewolf on defense seems to be pretty strong. And then with a base like this, the gargoyles would also be pretty well, because he has a lot of choke points, so you can get double hit with different waves. So if you're running up this way, the first wave can be coming up and attacking, and then as you get over here, the second wave of gargoyles could come over and jump the choke point, and all converge in one spot. And having 2 waves of gargoyles come at you does a massive amount of damage. Again, same thing up here. You could be running up, and then the first wave of gargoyles could be coming up over here and attacking you from the right, and then the reinforcement gargoyles could be coming from the tower here, and jumping this merge, and converging together and just blowing you up. So those are the options that I would put in there: more archers, blasters, gargoyles, possibly a werewolf depending on how strong it is, because you do want it to be high enough level. And that's the same thing with the gargoyles. If you don't really have gargoyles at max level, you don't necessarily want to use them. So at this stage, he probably doesn't have max level gargoyles, unless he beat the dungeons before they updated everything. If you don't have max level gargoyles, I wouldn't recommend really try it out. I would recommend probably using a lot more archers and arm blasters, and then possibly more mortars. Mortars do a good amount of damage. They have a lot of life as well, and then they also kind of prevent cannons from really attacking towers, because cannons have an AI where the cannon actually will target the mortar and shoot at the mortar, and so the cannon has a really low rate of fire, and if it sits there and targets the mortar, now it has to wait another like 5 seconds before it can shoot another shot. And so it's a nice little stall tactic there. Having a lot of mortars in your base prevents cannons from really being that effective. Towers, fireball towers, snake towers. So pretty standard now for the new current meta game that we're in, is with snake towers being just insanely powerful. Then we have fireball tower, which is a really, really great tower because you can't be hit when you're sitting behind Like in this position, if this one right here is a fireball tower, it can't be hit while you're destroying this barricade. Whereas if it was a skull tower, it could actually get hit by the spell when you're in the corner there attacking the barricade. So other than changing out the troops, I don't really see too much changes to do with this. This is a good layout, and definitely try changing out your paladins for archers, art blasters, and possibly some mortars in this situation. So the next base we have here is Ivander Latidjan. Again, I apologize for saying these names wrong. I'm horrible with names. So this has a lot of connectivity, and this would be a base that would be really good for the gargoyles, but again, you want to have them high level. You might be able to pull it off since you're fighting opponents roughly around the 22 trophy range as well with the level 3, but of course you'd want to have level 4 if possible, but they did make all the dungeons really, really hard to do now, so it's if you don't have level 4 gargoyles already, it's pretty hard to get level 4 gargoyles, and you're probably not going to be able to get them until they rebalance these things, if they do rebalance them. So unfortunately, if you have level 3 or level 2 gargoyles, you may be stuck with those for quite some time right now, and they're not as effective because you can kill those gargoyles in like one spell cast with a lot of different spells. Sword Rain, Sonic Blast, Blade Storm, possibly even like maybe even the Hammer Strike if you time it correctly. So looking at the map again, it is great for ranged battles. All the connectivity here allows ranged troops to sit behind and shoot over. So again, you're going to be looking at a lot more archers, art blasters, pyromancers, mortars. You're not going to want, like I've talked about before, you're not going to want to use a lot of mortar or a lot of paladins. Paladins, they just die too quickly now as people start getting higher up, so they're not as effective. If you are going to use anything, you want to use like a super monster, because the monster has tons of life, so that means one spell can't really kill it in one hit. And that's the downside of the paladins, is that they only have like 2,000, 3,000 life, and so one spell takes them out before they can really do anything. And you don't have to actually even sit there and utilize the entire spell. You just have to kind of touch them, run by them, and that one spell will just destroy them. So the paladins really get outclassed around probably like the 1500 trophy range, and so you're going to want to stop using paladins in defense roughly right around there, and go more archers, art blasters for damage. And then the ogre is actually pretty nice as well, because I believe that's the first monster that you unlock. So as you start unlocking that, you can put an ogre or so in there. And then currently it looks like the werewolf is going to be the best monster to use for defense. And then you also do want to add the mortar in here. You want to have a blend of everything. You want to have pyromancers, frosters, and mortars, so that you have all those different status effects. Mortars, they do a pretty good amount of HP on their initial shot, and then it's a slow amount of damage over time with the poison effect. Yeah, so make sure you put some mortars in here, and then probably buff up your archers, or you can even buff up your pyromancers if you don't have your archers leveled up, because you're not using art blasters, so you might not have those leveled up. But yeah, so pyromancers, archers, art blasters, mortars take out the paladins, and of course the knights are just there for probably filling up the thing, but you want to again take as many of those guys out as possible. For towers, everything looks great. You're using these spots. There's so many hard to reach tower positions in this base, and that's what makes this one really effective. You can see you come up here and you turn right away, and he has a very hard to reach tower right there. So the downside to that is in the beginning you can spawn a couple cannons, and the cannons will be able to take that out. Probably 3 cannons or so will be able to kill that tower, but again, that is a lot of morale points. But yeah, as you get further in the base, it's harder to control those cannons and those pyromancers to attack, and you have another hard to reach tower right there, and then you have another hard to reach tower right there. So this is a beautiful base with 3 definitely hard to reach towers, and it's going to slow opponents down dramatically. For this style of base, you're probably going to want, since you're not focusing anywhere with like DPS heavy corners, you're probably going to want to add a lot of frosters to just slow down and kind of prevent people from reaching your castle gates. And the reason I say that is because if you remember in some of the other bases, we have a corner that has like 5 or 6 towers right here. And so it's all their towers are pretty much in one corner, and it's just like massive amounts of DPS right there. Your towers are all scattered around fairly evenly and nicely balanced, but that means that the hero is going to constantly be taking some damage, but not a lot. So it's just going to be a little slight trickle, and then they can, once they take out like this little corner here, they can kind of sit back and relax some, and same thing. So if you slow down the progress, they're not going to make it to your castle gates, and it's not going to really, beat your castle gate for sure. This tower right here, I'm not a fan of having a tower right there, because when you come up to the castle gate, you can go to the corners to the right up here, or to the left right over here, and you can cast a spell, and the spell will hit everything in this little circle, meaning it will hit the castle gate, and it will also hit this tower as well. So if you want to put towers up here, it's better to put it like this one, to move this one down, so then you can't have a spell hit both the castle gate and the tower at the same time. The only exception that I've seen that works okay over here is if you have a snake tower, because at the end you're hopefully the attacker is trying to like desperately kill your castle gate as fast as possible, and if you have a snake tower over here, the snake tower will do a lot of damage when he comes into the snake tower's damage area, and that damage, along with the reinforcement troops that are popping out of your castle gate, potentially could kill him. So that is the only tower that I've seen that works pretty well being up here in this corner. Otherwise, I would move it right down here. So overall, great job, guys, and we will get some more out soon.